Through the previous video, I made you all familiar with neurons, that is the nerve cell. In the previous video, we discussed parts of neuron along with the functions, and we also looked at the pathway through which the information travels inside the neuron. Hello and welcome to Learn Something New. So in today's video, we would be discussing about how electrical signals are generated and how they propagate, or you can say travel, through a neuron. Yes, you get it right. Today we would be discussing about action potential. Before moving ahead with the action potential, let's quickly revise the pathway through which the informations travel inside the neuron. The pathway through which the information travels inside the neuron is that it is first received by dendrite, and then it is passed to cell body, then axon terminal, and then at the end it is transferred to synaptic knob. Action potential is generated at axon hillock, and then it is traveled through axon. Action potential are those electrical signals that send messages inside our body, and they are generated because of the influx of positive ions. To understand the concept of action potential, we need to understand the influx of ions between axon and the external environment of neuron. The black horizontal line represents the plasma membrane of axon, that is known as exolemma, and the colorful vertical lines represent different channels that help to transport ions between extracellular fluid that is present outside the neuron and between exoplasm, that is the matrix present in the axon. Let us assume that the brown vertical lines represent the voltage gated sodium ion channel, the green vertical lines represent voltage gated potassium ion channel, and the purple vertical lines represent the sodium potassium pump. The voltage gated ion channels are activated by a depolarized membrane of axon and allow the specific molecule to pass through them. Outside in the extracellular fluid, the concentration of positive ions is higher, whereas in the exoplasm, that is inside the axon, the concentration of negative ions is high. Let's try to understand the action potential through the various stages. Let's first see how a polarized neuron, that is at its resting state, looks like. At resting state, there is no transmission of impulses, that is why the channels are closed. As a result, there is no influx of ions. That means the concentration of positive ion is higher outside the exolemma, and inside the exolemma the concentration of negative ion is higher. This is the situation when there is no impulse conduction. That means the neuron doesn't receive any signal. But when the neuron receives a signal, we could see the influxes of ions. The influxes of ion results in the propagation of electrical signals, and the influxes of ion results in the depolarization of a neuron. So now let's try to understand the second stage of action potential, that is depolarization. When there is an impulse conduction, the voltage gated sodium ion channel opens and allow the sodium ion to pass through them. The concentration of sodium ion is higher outside the exoplasm. That is why from outside they move inside the axon. As a result, the concentration of positive ion becomes higher in the exoplasm and make the particular part of axon depolarized. The part of axon where the impulse is not conducted still remains polarized. As the action potential reaches at the peak, the voltage gated sodium ion channel closes and the voltage gated potassium channel opens. The voltage gated potassium channel allows the potassium ion to move from exoplasm to the extracellular fluid that is present outside of the neuron. And the loss of positive ion results in the repolarization of neuron, which is also known as the falling phase. You can also say that the repolarized neuron is that part of axon through which the electrical signal had been transported further. Slowly and gradually, the falling phase reaches the hyperpolarization. At the stage of hyperpolarization, the sodium channel got closed, and at this stage, it is difficult for a neuron to pass the message again. After the hyperpolarization, it is necessary for a neuron to restore its resting potential, that is minus 70 millivolts. Sodium potassium pump play a crucial role in retaining the resting potential. The sodium potassium pump is a type of protein pump that helps to maintain the higher concentration of sodium ion outside the cell and potassium ion inside the cell by transporting 3 sodium ion outside the cell and bringing 2 potassium ion inside that cell simultaneously. So we can say that due to repolarized, depolarized and polarized condition, impulses travel through axon and reaches to the synaptic knob where it gets packed in the form of vesicles. Let's understand the action potential through its graph. Let us assume that the green dot that is moving is the impulse. As the impulse is moving further, it is activating the different stages of action potential. Let's try to understand the graph of action potential in a better way. As you could see that at minus 70 millivolt, the action potential was at its resting state. But as it received the stimulus, the graph of the action potential starts to move upward. And then at threshold, that is at minus 55 millivolt, a large number of sodium channel opens and results in the massive depolarization of neuron. After reaching the peak of action potential, the potassium channels are open and help to transport the potassium ion out of the cell. And the transport of potassium ion out of the cell help in repolarization of a neuron. The stage of repolarization, that is also known as the falling stage, then reaches to the stage of hyperpolarization, where it is difficult for a neuron to fire again or to send the message again. After reaching the stage of hyperpolarization, it is necessary for a neuron to again get back to its resting state so that it can conduct the impulses again. And it is possible due to the sodium potassium pump. I hope that now the topic of action potential is very much clear to you all. So with this, we came to an end of this video. Thank you so much for watching.